every American cheering. President Trump has had a busy week preparing for Hurricane Irma before it makes landfall in Florida, but that doesn't mean he isn't also working on other important pieces of legislation to govern the country. One of the biggest reforms President Trump is looking to accomplish is tax reform, and he made 3 major promises in his weekly address on Friday that you don't want to miss. Here's exactly what he said: "Our current burdensome tax code is a massive weight against the American economy. It costs us millions of jobs, trillions of dollars, and billions of hours wasted on paperwork and compliance. My administration is working closely with Congress to develop a plan that will deliver more jobs, higher pay, and lower taxes for businesses of all sizes and most importantly for middle-class families all across America. First, we are going to make filing taxes as simple as possible. If you're like most Americans, under our plan you will file your taxes on a single page. What a difference that will make, and you won't need to keep endless receipts and paperwork. We are freeing you from the horrible tax maze. Secondly, we will cut taxes for middle-class families. We want you to keep more of your hard-earned money. This way, you could spend it, you could save it, you could do whatever you want. Third, we will restore our competitive edge so we can create more jobs and higher wages for the American worker. We are going to cut taxes on American industry so we can create more business in our country." Check out his full address here. Woo! Honestly, this is the first time I've actually been excited to do my taxes. President Trump is a businessman. He knows exactly the kinds of excessive taxes that are strangling business. And since he isn't a dyed-in-the-wool politician, he's ready to make smart and efficient reforms that are both practical and useful. It's great to have someone in the White House who actually is serious about tax reform. Love what the president has been saying? Share it out, patriots. H/T Real Clear Politics. Oh hell no! North Korea's sick new personal attack on Nikki Haley will make blood boil. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill once said, "You have enemies? Good. That means you've stood up for something, sometime in your life." It looks like that saying just came true for U.S. Ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley. North Korean state media Korean Central News Agency just lambasted Haley in response to her comments at the UN earlier this week, in which she condemned the Hermit Kingdom's latest nuclear test and proposed new sanctions on the country, including an oil embargo. The news station called her a prostitute and added, "She is crazily swishing her skirt, playing the flagship role in Trump administration's hideous sanctions and pressure racket." A threat to the U.S. followed with, "Nikki should be careful with her tongue, though she might be a blind fool. The U.S. administration will have to pay a dear price for her tongue lashing." Wow! Nikki Haley a prostitute? Although this isn't even close to the worst thing North Korea has done, this just goes to show the level of depravity and incivility they're willing to sink to. It's also one more example of how difficult they are going to be to negotiate with. For her part, Nikki Haley took it all in stride, not releasing any public statement or acknowledging North Korea's sick, sexist insult. Nikki Haley is an incredible fighter and has been doing amazing work at the UN so far this year. It is so hard to see her insulted by the likes of Kim Jong-un, but it's all the more reason to be proud of the work she's doing. Let's show our girl at the UN some support by sharing this 10,000 times. H/T The Independent. Last night Trump met with his team and made a video about Hurricane Irma Americans need to see. President Trump called together a meeting of his cabinet at Camp David last night with one very important issue to discuss: Hurricane Irma. This hurricane has already displaced basically the entire state of Florida, and the president knows action must be taken. To make all Americans aware of the important actions he is taking, Trump sat down with Mattis, Tillerson, Pence, Kelly, and the rest of the crew to make this video for everyone to watch. Clearly, the president is hard at work doing his best to resolve the upcoming problems before they even start. He is mobilizing the National Guard to help out. He is considering a larger funds package for hurricane relief. It was not all hurricane talk at Camp David over the weekend, though. Trump and his trusted generals also mapped out their new strategy for how to deal with North Korea. At the same time, the president used the gathering as a chance to set up his new tax reform policy with his top economic advisors, all of whom were helping with hurricane issues. Right as Hurricane Irma was about to hit Florida, Trump bowed his head and did the incredible. President Trump has managed to lead the country through one major national disaster, Hurricane Harvey in Texas and Louisiana, and is already standing by for Hurricane Irma to hit Florida. The president assembled his cabinet in Camp David on Wednesday to make plans for the storm, and before discussions began he did something incredible: he bowed his head in prayer. The White House released a photo late Saturday afternoon of President Trump and members of his cabinet bowing their heads in prayer as they met at Camp David in Maryland. Official White House photo by Sheila Craighead. Vice President Mike Pence led the prayer for the entire cabinet. Afterwards, President Trump released a statement detailing his work to address the tragedy and destruction caused by Harvey and Irma, saying, "All of America continues to pray for the families affected by Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, which looks like it's really going to be a bad one. But we're prepared. We're as prepared as you can be for such an event. All of America grieves for those who have already lost their lives." Check out the video here, which he posted on Twitter. "It is awesome to have a godly man as president, who works hard for us but also acknowledges a power even higher than his." Near the end of his video, President Trump stressed one important thing, urging Americans to stay safe and to take all necessary precautions. "Property is replaceable, but lives are not. Safety has to come first, just get out of its way." He then went on to assure Americans that my administration is monitoring the situation around the clock. "These hurricanes will test our nation's strength, but with leaders like President Trump and his team in the White House, we know we can pull through this together." Share Trump's message of faith and strength to the world. H/T Washington Examiner. Right after Colbert mocked Trump with Nazi salute, Tucker Carlson ripped him to shreds with one question. "You know, President Trump has been absolutely hammered in the media for his response to the Charlottesville riots, claiming he did not call out white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups when he in fact did multiple times. Just when you think that nonsense had died down and the media could go on to reporting news that actually matters, comedian Stephen Colbert brings it back to a whole new sick level. During an episode of The Late Show on Friday, Colbert lambasted former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon for saying he defended President Trump's Charlottesville comments, but that's not all. Colbert then proceeded to prove whatever point he was making by doing a Nazi salute. Check out the bizarre scene here. It happens at 4:46, here's a screenshot. Source, YouTube, CBS. "This is sick beyond belief, and that fellow leftists didn't see it and call him out is even more baffling." Tucker Carlson was paying attention at least and called Colbert out big time, saying, "Can we agree that is out of bounds? Jeffrey Lord just got canned from CNN for making reference to that regime, but it's okay here." How? Carlson's guest Joe Concha then brought down the hammer. "This is late night comedy in 2017. It's unhinged hate. And there is no line anymore to go over because there ain't no line. It is at all anything goes." Then he points out Colbert's total hypocrisy. "Look, last week, or at the beginning of this week, Stephen Colbert mocked President Trump's reaction to Hurricane Harvey, and here's the bottom line: while Trump was in Texas twice, Stephen Colbert was on vacation for 2 weeks, and he had the time and the resources to go there and do something himself, but instead, he mocks people from afar. And I think that's all you need to know about the person Stephen Colbert is." He ended, "That's the true punchline. Boom. You know, I miss late night comedy that was actually funny and not a total hate fest. This latest Hitler homage is beyond sick, and Colbert's network needs to know this is not okay, so let's get this out there by sharing 10,000 times. H/T Real Clear Politics." Right after Bill Maher said sick thing about Trump supporters, his audience does something even worse. Hurricanes Harvey and Irma have put the best of America on display, and the worst. After Hurricane Harvey tore through Houston, Texas, the true spirit of American kindness was put on display. Volunteers descended upon the city and donations came flooding in from across the country. And then there was Hollywood. While regular Americans suffered, the Hollywood elite used these hurricanes to bash President Donald Trump. Earlier this week, Jennifer Lawrence claimed that Mother Nature seemed to be punishing Americans for voting for someone other than Hillary Clinton. Now, HBO host Bill Maher seems to be taking the theory even further. During a monologue on his show, Maher gleefully noted that Trump, Rush Limbaugh, and Coulter, and the Koch brothers all have property that will be wiped out by the storm. "I'm not gloating," he added, but his smile gave his true intentions away. He is happy that Hurricane Harvey is destroying the lives of Trump supporters. If that weren't enough, the leftist host then played scientist and claimed that climate change was the major contributing factor to these catastrophic weather events. By denying this theory, Maher suggested that the destruction of conservative property was well deserved. Meanwhile, his entire audience cheered through the disgusting spectacle. Share if you think Maher needs to be taken off air for his terrible remark. Omarosa just got the worst news of her life from Trump that changes everything. Trump's new chief of staff, John Kelly, is no nonsense for sure. Trump brought him in to help him straighten things out in the White House, and that's just what he's doing. Before he arrived in the Oval Office, people just came and went pretty much whenever the whim struck. But no more. Now, some aides that previously could wander about in the Oval Office, have been frozen out. And Omarosa is one of them. Apparently, according to The Hill, she is considered unfit for serious meetings. Omarosa has been serving as Trump's chief advisor for African American issues. But I wonder if this could have had anything to do with her demotion, courtesy of TMZ via YouTube.com. I mean, that kind of resembled an episode of The Jerry Springer Show. A bit out of control, and clearly, the interaction made some people uncomfortable. While she did appear to be defending Trump, how she went about it does seem to be the sort of thing Kelly is trying to clean up in the White House. Reportedly, she has been placed on a no-fly list. According to Fox News, Omarosa could not be reached for comment. Do you like what Trump and Kelly are doing in the White House? Comment yes or no and share together. All comment. Oh my God, Al Sharpton's daughter was just arrested for violent attack that will make blood boil. Al Sharpton's daughter just got arrested for allegedly assaulting a cab driver in New York City on her 30th birthday, and the details are beyond sick. Ashley Sharpton was booked for petty larceny Saturday after allegedly fighting with a cab driver and throwing his keys on the street, the New York Post reports. The terrified cabbie, Georges Coley, related his experience to the New York Post, at one point breaking down in tears. Coley said how he tried to pick up Sharpton and her friends around 1 a.m. Sharpton had 4 friends with her. The cab only could fit 4 riders, but she tried to get all 5 of her party in the cab anyway. Coley said when he tried to tell her he could only take 4 people total, she became irate and slammed the door and gave me attitude. When he then asked them to take a cab that could accommodate 5 rides, they refused to leave. That's when he said she snatched the keys out of his ignition and started running away. I followed her for over a block begging for my keys back, and I had to step in front of her and ask. That's when she swung at my face and ended up punching me in the chest. Sharpton was arrested shortly after Coley called the police, and when reached for comment, her lawyer said what was reported did not happen. Earlier that day, Al Sharpton himself posted on Twitter a birthday message for his daughter, saying how proud he is of her. Wonder how proud he'll be after he hears about this? H/T New York